Welcome to Awakening, the podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kristian Strang, and welcome to your September 2023 Oracle reading. Now, this Oracle reading is a little different. We actually have an activity for you that you can actually do in sync or in harmony with this audio that you're listening to right now. So if you want, you can pause this recording, go get a pen and paper, and we're going to take you through some questions to answer and some intentions that Mary Magdalene, Yeshua, the goddesses of the highest light, and of course Source herself are inviting you into for the month of September. If you're like me, you may love this kind of thing. So I was really excited to see that this is the direction they were taking us in for September, because maybe you've noticed there's a lot happening in the world right now. And of course there always is, but we are seeing a ramp up of activity by the artificial matrix. So I wanted to come on here and be like, let's talk about this. And Mary and the team said, okay, you can do that for the podcast. And we want you to take them through this exercise for the month of September, because there is an increase of control mechanisms. I'm trying to use the most aligned verbiage here, as always, when speaking about what we're working with here on Earth. Because there's an increase in attempts to control and dominate you as a human being, as an angelic being, as a star seed, whatever your origins are, there is this increase in desire to dominate and control. Now, that's always happening at even a low level framework. So you see it in social media, you see it in traditional media, you see it, in the advertisements that are happening. You see this in cultural movements, cultural movements. So we always want to look at the words. They help give us a little bit more information. So that's always happening on Earth and has been for some time, these control mechanisms. And then there are times, because the human form cannot take sustained dominance in a really violent, aggressive way. Like, what will happen if humans experience the kind of aggressiveness we saw in 2020, the kind of aggressiveness that we're seeing, that's been happening and is starting to ramp up again? If that was happening full throttle all the time, humans would get so burned out, they would become numb to it and they wouldn't be controlled by it. So that's not a sustainable, course for the artificial matrix. So they're always going to they're going to do it in spurts. So there'll be a real hammering down, and then there'll be a lull, and then there'll be another big thing, and then a lull. And you can see that if you just look at, what's been happening in the artificial matrix. However, our intention, meaning myself and you being someone who is listening to this podcast, our intention is to be a illumination of source light here on Earth, to be an illustration, an example of what it looks like to stay connected to source and live your human incarnation. Now, we're not going to do that necessarily without flaw, because we all have things that we are evolving, we all have things we're learning, we all have things we're growing. So sometimes folks who are really in that fourth dimensional space, and I was just actually writing about this on Instagram the other day, sometimes folks who get stuck in that fourth dimensional space get very aggressive about, oh, you can't be endorsing, living in this way, because nobody can do this, all the time. And that is a great tactic and sabotage that comes in from the artificial matrix. No, 100% of the time, we are not all going to be in connection to our higher self in every given moment. Not yet. But what I can tell you does happen, because I've been on this path for 15 years, what does happen is that the times that you are out of alignment and disconnected from your higher self become less and less and less. And so everything I have been guided to create, from the fiction novels to the nonfiction work, to the channeling, to the courses, to the certifications, to this podcast, everything I'm guided to create is all to assist those with the eyes to see see and ears to hear in holding the light and bringing through the light through the body temple and living connected to the higher self while in human form more and more and more and more and more of the time. And when you are consistent in your spiritual practice, when you're consistent in your emotional awareness and healing, when you are consistent in your karmic healing, you're aware of the ancestral and previous incarnation impact in this incarnation, when you're consistent in all of that healing expansion, the gap between the personality and the higher self gets closed down more and more and more and more of the time. So if you've heard me talk about this at any time before in any other podcasts, I would talk about how, when I would get disconnected from my higher self in the beginning, it would be Mary and the team were actually coming in to correct me. I spent many years just getting aligned to my soul. So if you're with me from the very beginning, we did soul alignment sessions. So we weren't even getting to our higher self. We're just trying to get into harmony with our soul that lives in the body, right? So I spent many, many years doing that. And then when was it that we shifted our focus to connection with higher self? Was that 2016, 2017? We started shifting the focus to that because I had gotten the soul alignment. I've been able to help those that I was meant to assist in getting to their soul alignment. And now our focus shifts into the higher self connection. And we started with higher self, just connecting into the higher self, just starting to, I have a higher self, connecting into the higher self. Then we worked with embodiment. How do we embody the higher self in the physical body? And then it was higher self unification. So we're all at different spaces and places in our journey, and wherever you're at is perfect. But we want you to know, and the message we want to communicate to you today is that you did come here to hold the light of source in your physical body and express that through your body, and to have your life and your life stream be an expression of that. So if that really speaks to you at a deep level, like it does to me, right? That is my mission here. That is the only thing that matters. I was having a conversation with a loved one recently, and they were trying to convince me to do something that they thought I should do. And I had to really impress upon them, like, my one and only mission here is unification with my higher self and expressing that in my body. Anything, and in my life and what I create and my relationships and all of that, anything that takes me out of that is a no for me. Cannot do it. Because what really makes me come alive, what really gives me the best lifetime ever, is my unification with my higher self, which gives me my unification with my spiritual team, which gives me unification with Source herself and Mother, Father, God. And that is my best life. So if you feel the resonance with that, then my work is for you. Then that's where our alignment is. If you're like, I love, whatever it is that you love, that is not of the highest light. And I was just talking to my book club. We had our Angelic's Wildest Dream book club a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about this, that the story of the wildest dreams is based on an experience that I had, and that every soul, no matter how connected they are to other souls here on earth, we all have free will, and we all can choose to fuck this thing up. We can all choose to completely destroy our incarnation. And I'm raising my hand because I definitely spent time doing that in my life, and certainly in other lifetimes. Because we all have that potentiality. We can create, we can destroy, we can make this the best experience, we can make this heaven on earth, we can make it the worst experience, we can make it what the artificial matrix calls hell. We literally get to choose. We literally have that power. You are a divine, beloved being of the light, and you can take this thing any which way you want to. And your choices have a ripple effect, not only in this incarnation, but in the incarnations to come. which is why I laugh and joke about, the situation I incarnated into in this incarnation makes me go, I'm not so sure what I was up to in the previous incarnation. Like, I came in a really hard situation with a lot of dysfunction. I clearly had some big work to do in this incarnation. Now, I could have chosen not to do it, and I certainly had choice points that made that available to me. But once I made the commitment in 2008, you know the story. I was about to die, or I felt like I was going to die. 2008, and I said, listen, let's make a deal. Mother, Father, God, let's make a deal. I can't go out like this, so let's make a deal. And we made a deal. And the deal was that I would do what I'm doing right now. And I would do this work and I would dedicate my life to the divine, which happens to be the very best thing I could do. But for me, I had to almost die to get there. And I was a very spiritual human, but was really struggling with how to express that. So at the time of my spiritual awakening, I was agnostic. So I share that with you to show, in one lifetime, how far we can leap, right? How much progress we can make in an incarnation. But we do have to choose it. We really do. So in this month of September, you're being invited to do this exercise we're about to give you to assist you in moving forward powerfully, because you're either building momentum or you're decelerating your experience. So de-evolving, evolving is, so I think a lot of New Age would say spiraling up or spiraling down. So use whatever terminology works for you. You literally get to choose, and we want you to choose the acceleration. We want you to choose the spiraling up. We want you to choose the light of source in everything that you do. And when you don't choose the light of source, to heal it. Super simple. I had an experience recently where I didn't even consciously choose. It was an unconscious program that made itself known. Oh, good. There's still unconscious programs running. I'm in my mid-40s. This is great. This is the work. I see it. I'm like, oh no, would you look at this? Immediately go into healing it. Using my SG, it's our superpowers guide, using that process, having focused energy medicine sessions on it, doing focused meditations, lengthy meditations. If you have something you're really working to heal, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, meditate multiple times a day, 2 to 3 times a day, 20 minutes each. Really make it a priority to connect into your higher wisdom so that you can heal that. But again, my desire in sharing this with you is I've been on this journey for 15 years. I dedicated my life to the divine in 2008. I spend more time in my higher self than ever before, and I still have unconscious programs that make themselves known to me that I have to heal. So we are all on this journey of becoming more of who we really are. And again, that's going to look different. It'll express in different ways based on whatever your trauma is from this incarnation, from previous incarnations, from your ancestral lineage. And then to make things super interesting, because we like to keep it spicy here on Earth, we have the artificial matrix who's fucking with us, right? They're poisoning the food, they're poisoning the water. We've got institutionalized arson happening right now, where they're just lighting shit up, roasting things, killing people. Now that's been happening, the mass exodus scenario has been happening for a long time, but we're dealing with heightened levels of this because the prophecy came into fruition in 2021. We are at this time of the light illuminating the earth. The Earth's frequency has shifted. The artificial matrix is on its way out. It knows that, so we have a heightening of the intensity. Okay, so we've got our own stuff, then we have what's happening with the artificial matrix. If you feel really impassioned by what you see happening on Earth right now, if you are like, I want to make a difference, I want to have a positive impact on what is happening to the Earth and how she is being manipulated and abused. And I don't mean by aerosol spray cans. I don't mean by oil in the cars. I mean by the artificial matrix who is destroying her in a variety of tactical moves. If you see what's happening and you have the eyes to see clearly what's happening and you want to have an impact, then I would invite you to our Love Territory Guide certification. And you can find that on sacred-spirituality.org. Click on the certifications tab, and then you'll see Love Territory Guide certification. We are working specifically with the lands, waters, and all living beings for selected areas that we are divinely guided to support. There is a list of quote-unquote smart cities that are being developed. What you will see, and what we've already seen, is a series of traumas, tragedies, quote-unquote natural disasters, but of course these are created by the artificial matrix, and this is happening in the same way that it's been happening since the 1800s, and most likely way beyond then, because time is its own interesting nonlinear thing, of the artificial matrix burning down and destroying in order to create more of its artificial creations. Especially if the indigenous peoples and the people who are connected to source are not cooperating with the demands. So what you're going to see happening, and again, what we're already seeing happening, if you live in any of those cities that are on the smart cities list, if you are connected to any of those areas, like at an emotional level, you have a heart connection, like for me, Portland, Oregon, big heart connection. I was devastated by what I saw the artificial matrix doing to it in 2020. I really didn't feel like I could do anything about it because it wasn't my love territory. I was working with another area of the earth. But since then, they've had me doing some rituals in the last year and a half or so. So all of that to say, when you become a Love Territory Guide, you are given these specific rituals and practices and blessings that Mary Magdalene and Yeshua used when they were on earth, and that have been updated for our times, of course, and are shared in this certification training. So, we can send money, we can, sign petitions, you can choose to do all of those things. But if you have a desire for true alchemy and to really be a part of shifting the frequency and really use these rituals, and we don't just do them one time. These are consistent daily for the areas that you are specifically connected to. And we have a whole spiritual attunement you receive so you can tune in to which areas are most aligned for you. And you are here to support, right? Because the connections you feel to certain parts of this earth are not by accident. It's because you have something to work in harmony with the earth. You have gifts to give for those areas. I know there's a lot of prayers out there. There's a lot of rituals. There's a lot of stuff out there. However, I believe the technology that we have been given through the Love Territory Guide certification far surpasses anything else we've seen out there. We started in 2016. It was like a low-key sort of movement. Then last year in 2022, two of the souls who had been working with this technology just from the very basic information I had given in our book, Ecstatic Union with the Divine, came to me and said, we really feel like you need to offer a full-fledged training and go deep into this. I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't really feeling it. I was in the midst of completing our coach training, and that was really intense. There was a lot that I was working with. And so I was, just doing a lot at that time. And I thought, I cannot do another training. But when I checked in with Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, they said, absolutely, you have to do this. And I thought, can we push it to 2023? And Mary and the team said, absolutely not. You need to do it now. You need to do it in 2022. So last fall, we taught it live. Now we have it available online, and then I'm offering a bonus. I'm offering that through August 31st. I'm recording this a little bit early for September. So reach out to me if you're interested in the bonus as well, because that will go away. But if you feel the call to this technology that they have given us is extraordinary. And I can tell you about 1 million experiences I've had of the literal shifting of what is happening in an area that I'm connected to. from doing these rituals, and our other love territory guides are reporting the same kind of situations. So where they're doing their rituals, something's happened, or they feel the energy of something might happen, and they use these rituals and blessings, and then it comes to completion, and then they use the rituals and blessings daily. And then we do it. We have a bigger monthly ritual we do. And they're having shifts in the areas that they're living in. Now, it's so much bigger than that. There's a whole ritual for every time you get into your car. There's like all different kinds of things that we're doing to assist our territories. But you have a territory here on earth that you are responsible for. And if you are feeling the power of the information that I'm sharing right now, go check out that training. See if you get the Sacred Heart yes. If you do, reach out to me if you'd like the bonus. I would be happy to extend it to anyone who's getting this information from the podcast. We want as many love territory guides as are willing to be out there and really supporting the earth. And I don't mean saving her from the artificial matrix. I mean collaborating with her. And it takes us anchoring in the light onto earth. She can't do it all. We can't do it all. We have to do it together. And this technology of the love territory certification, this training, is at a whole other frequency than any other technology that is out there. And I have seen it literally shift. So I'll just leave it there. I am writing down these various case studies of what I'm seeing happen, and I'm going to be reaching out to my love territory guides to do the same so that we can really showcase a body of work that shows that when you do this consistently, there is a change in the lands, waters, and living beings wherever you live. Okay, so this is just one of the many invitations that are available to you to know that you don't have to be disempowered by what's happening by the artificial matrix, and you don't need to dwell there, but you can't ignore it, right? So sort of the new age trend, the fourth dimensional trend is, oh, well, it's all love and light, so I'm just going to turn away. You have the ability to make a choice to change what's happening here on earth, but it only happens through your alignment with your higher self and through you taking consistent daily action. So, and together, right? My whole territory is not the whole world, right? I have one specific territory. You have one specific territory. If each of us are honoring our specific agreements with the lands, the waters, all living beings here on earth for our specific territory, then we have the ability to have a massive effect on what the artificial matrix is trying to put into place right now. So, I encourage you, if you feel the resonance of this, to say yes, to take action. So this month of September is really about that. It's about getting really clear. So we're going to move into the exercise now, and then taking action to support the shifting in consciousness that is happening. So Mary and the team want me to tell you right now, they're just popping in really strongly, this shift is going to happen. Meaning even if you do nothing, there are enough of us doing things that the shift is going to happen. It's just what side of the karma are you going to be on? Are you going to be one who said yes and supported the shift in consciousness in a positive way? Or are you going to be one who turned the other way and just said, no, I'm doing my spiritual, I'm showing up to the meditations, or I'm, going to Burning Man, or I'm doing whatever thing I think is an expression of I'm doing something. I donated the money, I signed the petition. Or are you going to be one who actively engages with this shift in consciousness? And that is everything for us. That is everything for us. Because I'm laughing because I joke about this. The record will show, that yes, I fucked up plenty in my incarnation, but I was diligent and consistent and persistent and resilient for the divine, for the light of source. And that's what matters to me about my incarnation. Not all the outcomes, not the times where I had the gaps in my consciousness, but that I was consistent, persistent, and resilient in ensuring that I brought the light of source through my body temple. And that's what matters. So if you've read the Angelic's Wildest Dreams, you know about the tipping point. You know we're at the tipping point. And now we're at the next phase. And this includes caring for the earth, especially because the artificial matrix is attacking the earth at this time. And then the attack on humans has been happening. So you know that we are in this massive shift. The question really for you is, where do you stand? Some call it spiritual warfare. I don't like to use the W word because it is its own matrix, right? Words are their own technologies. So I really like to be careful with the technologies I use. But this is, I'm waiting to see if they're going to bring me a word I can use. This is a spiritual siphoning is what I'm hearing. There is a siphoning happening. There's a culling of frequencies. There's the choice points that are available to all of us. And our soul chose to come and incarnate on earth so that we could really, have the full experience of what it is to be divine and also to be human. So let's go into your exercise. I can feel them moving the energy into that. Get out your pen and paper. And let's go. So we're in our book, Love Now, Your Daily Dose of Love and Miracles. And we're actually at the tail end of a transmission. And so when I tuned in, the message was, no, this is what we're working with. We want you all to answer these questions, to write this out for the month of September to assist you, because September is carrying the vibes. I don't know if you've tuned into this or not yet, but it's carrying the restart vibes. It's carrying New Year vibes. Now I know, we had the real New Year happens in March every year, with the expansion that the springtime season brings. But interestingly, September is also carrying this New Year vibe. So this is your new start. This is a new time. We're entering a new timeline in September, which is so interesting. I don't recall ever having this feeling specifically at a time where seasonally that wasn't the case, because seasonally September we go into the fall. We're in late summer. We're going into the fall here in what they call Northern Hemisphere. And seasonally, it's about coming into peace and harmony. But there is this new start, fresh start energy that is accompanying this September. And I do not base any of this on astrology. And I'll be talking to you, I'm sure, at some point about my revelations with astrology, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Okay, so you have your pen and paper, and we are going to go to this reading here in this transmission. And this reading and this transmission has a specific exercise for you. So for September, you are being asked to write out your strengths, as well as the areas that you are here to grow at this divine time, as they have been outlined to you by your higher self. Then you will write out the 3 areas in your life that are of the highest divine value to you. And then you will write out the 3 intentions you have for integrating all that is before you in this month that you are now in. Your strengths, your areas to grow, who's on your entourage, your core values. What does all of this desire for you at this very time in consciousness? What is it that your deepest sacred heart most longs to live right here, right now? The answers may surprise you. In fact, they should surprise you, even in subtle ways. This is preparing you for what is to come, our dearest one. So be mindful to spend time here and put together what has come forth for you. And in this, you will integrate the next piece of your delicious divine destiny. And so it is. It is so. And then we have a prayer for you. Today's prayer. Oh, beloved, allow me to see all of me, to see the areas to grow and expand, to see my divine worth, and to align with my values and intentions for this divine month that I am now in. Allow me to hear the deepest call of my heart and to have the courage to answer it. And so it will be, and so it is. Thank you. Amen. Okay, so take a nice deep breath, and then I'm going to review the exercise here for you. So this was a long, detailed transmission with more details about how to do this, but Mary and the team said these were the 2 paragraphs to share with you for the month of September, and then to break down what the exercise is. So for September, first I want you to do, if you can, a meditation to sort of get in the zone. Now we've given you the vibes, the vibration in this podcast. So you could you've listened to this podcast, now you're going to write these pieces out. But if you desire to come back to this exercise or do it at another time, I would have you do some kind of meditation or re-listen to the podcast to get into the highest frequency and then answer. What are your strengths at this time? So you don't have to review the whole history of your life, but what are the strengths that you possess, that you hold at this time in your incarnation? Write those out. And again, if you're in a place you can write it down now, do that. If you're not driving or exercising or doing something where you have the ability to do this, write out what are your strengths that you have at this time that you're coming in with. I'm really consistent with my meditation practice. I am really great at graphic design, or I'm really great at leading groups of people, or I'm really amazing at gardening, or I'm really amazing, whatever it is. What are your strengths? I'm super patient. I'm really humble in my knowing that I'm here to grow and expand, and I don't get caught up in my ego or in arrogance. Whatever your strengths are. Okay, so you can pause the recording if you need to finish writing out your strengths. What are your areas to grow in? Where is there still a gap in your consciousness? And you'll know that by what are your addictions at this time? Where do you get caught up? Where are you, losing your shit or reactive? That's going to let you know these are the areas to grow in. Maybe it's, I just can't let go. I couldn't let go of my childhood wounds. I couldn't let go of, whatever happened to me, and I'm still not letting go in this area of my life. Or I need to grow in my consistency. I need to really develop myself as a person of integrity who is consistent in their self-care, which includes their spiritual and emotional practices. Maybe it's, I find that I'm really reactive in this certain relationship or with this certain person, or I feel really triggered by whatever it is. You don't have to figure it all out right now. You just have to be aware. So you're just going to write out, here are the areas that I need to grow. At this point in my incarnation, again, we're not pulling from the past. Oh, I was terrible at that, but now I'm, just where are you at in this moment? Okay, you can pause the recording if you'd like, or pause the audio if you'd like to write that down. Next, you're going to write down who is your entourage. So you may know that we talk about your entourage, and my spiritual team couched it like this, and I loved it. That like you see these quote unquote celebrities, right? These quote unquote famous people. We won't go into what that's all about. If you read The Angelic's Wildest Dreams, you'll get some ideas about what that's about, because we talk about celebrity in terms of the music industry and what's really happening there. So you can check that out if you're called, or you already know because you've read it. But we see these quote unquote celebrities with these entourages, right? They've got all these people always with them, taking care of all their stuff. And my spiritual team said, you all are that. You're all the movie star of your own movie, and we want you to treat yourself like that. And you have an entourage. So make sure you have your spiritual mentor, you have your spiritual healer, you have your emotional support, you've got your whatever. So instead of like hair, makeup, although you may choose to have hair and makeup people as well, instead of having hair and makeup people and like security, you would have your spiritual entourage, in the physical beings who are here to assist you and support you on your path. So we all have an entourage. It's just whether, who do we place in those roles, and whether or not we choose to activate our entourage and be conscious in creating an entourage that really supports our development into who we really are. So who's on your entourage? I recommend no more than 3 practitioners if you're talking about healing practitioners, and that each of those practitioners should have a specialty that is not the same, so that you are being supported from multiple frequencies. So you wouldn't have like for me, Body Talk is the energy medicine that I've been using as my primary form of healthcare for 13 years. Yeah, for over 13 years now. So for me, I wouldn't have like a bunch of Body Talk practitioners. I have like one Body Talk practitioner who holds the frequency I've been divinely guided to. And then I have one spiritual counselor. I used to have an astrologer, but evolving out of astrology. We'll talk about that again some other time. But you would have those kinds of people in place as your entourage to assist you. Now, depending on where you're at in your spiritual development, that might be like a naturopath, a counselor, and maybe an astrologer, right? So just wherever you're at, so that may change over time. For me, Body Talk has been the consistent for me. I was, with astrology for many years, right? So it'll just depend on what you need and how that may change or not, right? My spiritual mentors have been with me for 10 years plus, again, it'll be different for everyone, but who's your entourage? Write that down. And you can pause the recording or the audio to do that. And then write down your values. What is most important to you at this time in your incarnation? So what do you value the most? And that is, maybe, not always, but maybe will change over time. But again, we're just taking the snapshot of where you're at right now. What do you value the most right now? What is most important to you? And maybe that's your meditation time. Maybe that's a certain friend or family member that you have a deep connection with. Maybe that's a group of humans that you have a deep connection with. Maybe that's a certain spiritual practice. What do you value the most in your life right now? What is most important to you? Your organic nutrition, keeping your energy field clear, so many different possibilities here. But what do you value most? Now, again, if we were in a third or fourth dimensional frequency, the value would be like, how much money do you want to make? And you value your house and your car, and maybe those things make it on your list, and that's okay. But I always am going to be taking you to a higher octave of like the spiritual piece and really looking at what do you truly value? What's truly nourishing for you? What really feeds your soul? Okay, so you can pause the audio if you want to write that down. So this is the list to make: your strengths, your areas to grow, your entourage, your values. That's what you're going to get clear on for the month of September. And those pieces really answer the question of what it is that your deepest sacred heart most longs to live right here, right now. And you're going to use this journal entry, this exercise, to guide you throughout the month of September. So I want you to write this down. You've done the exercise, and now I want you to check in with yourself. So we're at the 1st of September, and then I want you to check in on the 15th of September and see where you're at. Where are you at with your entourage, with your strengths, with your areas that you need to grow, with your values? How is this allowing you to live your truest, deepest expression right here, right now? So just this clarity is going to guide you in the month of September. And one of the ways that that can guide you is for your strengths. Those are the things to really celebrate for yourself. So positive self-talk, really loving yourself. Like, I kick ass in all of these ways. Look at me. And then areas to grow. Take it through the SG, through the Superpowers Guide. Have a focused healing session on it. Really work on growing yourself in whatever one of those areas is really speaking to you. And then move on from it. This is really important too, because a lot of times folks get stuck in the same old loop. And that's one of the things here, I can't help myself. You'll love this. That's one of the things that astrology can do. It keeps you in the same loops because it's all based on recordings by humans about what certain planetary placements result in for other humans. So these are some of the ways we can get stuck in loops. We're not breaking out of these loops and growing ourselves because we just keep being in that same frequency. So do the focus work on it, and then you're done, and then you move forward to the next piece, okay? And some of the wounds that we have and some of the areas that we're growing in do have many layers to them, and it can take some time. And we want you to know that you can actively work on something and let it go and be done with it. And it doesn't have to reoccur or reappear in your experience. So your entourage, are you connecting with them consistently? Make sure you're consistently having one-on-one sessions with them, or you're consistently, taking their courses or whatever they offer. Make sure you're consistently dipping in, that you're connected to, their matrix, so that you can get the benefit from that. That was one of the things that I was surprised by and hadn't expected when my dear sister Guru Jagat made her transition. I was connected to her matrix. Under her specifically, not under the Kundalini Yoga lineage, because that's not a technology that I vibrate in harmony with, but her I do, and did because I've known her over many incarnations. And when she made her transition so unexpectedly, one of the biggest things I was feeling was like, I'm not in her matrix. Like, that matrix is gone. Now, she's in another space, and yes, I still have access to her non-physical, but it's different. It changes things. So when you are in the matrix of a soul connection, when you're in the matrix of a beloved being that is here to assist you in this incarnation, your life is better. You're more expanded. You have a higher frequency, and you're more effective, and you're more powerful in what you do because you have all that support. If they crumble their matrix through their own destructive means, or their matrix goes away because they graduate Earth and then they're out, you're not going to be in that matrix anymore, and you will feel it as an intuitive being. You will feel it. So your entourage is here to support you. And if you're not consistently connecting to your entourage who is spiritually here for you, you're going to feel that disconnect, and your life is not going to be as amazing and abundant as it can be. That's just how it works energetically, and it's like that for all of us. So make sure in this month of September that you're connected into your entourage. And what do you value? You say you value something, but if you're not taking part in that, if you're not feeding that, if you're not consistently engaging in that value, then there's a gap there. And now we're back to the areas to grow in. So you're writing this down now. You're getting clear now. Then you're going to check in on September 15th. Then you're going to check in on September 30th and see where you're at and how you've moved the needle in these areas. Okay. So just by writing it down, things are going to start to shift. You're going to start feeling inspiration. You're going to start to feel that things are shifting. And you want to back that up with action, because action is what brings it into form. So that's your exercise for the month of September. I would love to hear about your experience with this, so please keep me posted in the month of September. I am accessible via email. Excuse me, I could speak my words here. I'm accessible via email, so please feel free to email me, update me, let me know what has shifted for you. I would love to hear from you by the end of September, or when any cool shifts happen from doing this exercise, to hear how it impacted you. Thank you so much for listening. I think this has been a lengthy episode of Awakening the Podcast, but we had a lot to share with you. We're in this fresh start energy of September. I'm so excited for you and for me and for all of us light beings who are here and committed to illuminating the light of Source through our body temple and living in that way. What a beautiful, incredible honor we have to be able to do that in this incarnation. Whew, we have come a long way, have we not? We have all been through, we have been through it, right? On many incarnations, and look at us now here in this amazing incarnation where we can see clearly, we can see what's happening with the earth, we can see what's happening with the artificial matrix, we can see what's happening with ourselves, and we can use our free will to empower ourselves, use our willpower to empower ourselves to illuminating the light of Source through our body temple. What an incredible opportunity this is. Thank you for being here on Earth. If this podcast episode was of benefit to you, please consider sharing it with someone you know, or making a donation or a gift in the amount your spirit calls you to, which assists me in fulfilling my mission here and bringing you this high vibrational content. If you'd like more information about any of the things I've shared, go to sacred-spirituality.org. I've got freebies for you. I've got a free first chapter of our new book. I've got a free soundtrack for you, which is super fun. It was like, and I'm working on the soundtrack for book 2, and that's another amazing story I can't wait to share with you. Book 2 in the series of the Angelics. I've also got, if you go further down our homepage, I've got Sacred Love Transmission for Mary Magdalene for you. I've got all kinds of yummy offerings for you to assist you on your journey as a light being. That's at sacred-spirituality.org. Thank you again for listening. Can't wait to hear from you. And as always, I'm Dr. Kristian, and this has been Awakening the Podcast.